Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, Dr. Haider Shah. On behalf of Calwas, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we have another very interesting topic, and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speaker who is going to talk about how to publish in high impact journals. In research journey, the publication is very important, and we need to prepare ourselves by learning the ways which we can write effectively. So in this session you will learn a lot how to publish in reputed journals. So indeed a very interesting topic, and I'm sure in this session you will learn a lot of new things because we have an expert with us in this session. So stay tuned because an amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank Kalwas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing us such a wonderful platform. The aim of Kalwas is to give you the opportunity to connect and interact with world-renowned speakers, academic leaders, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to learn from their experiences, recommendations, suggestions, and tips which will create an impact and will enable you to learn and develop yourself in order to grow and transform individually, as well as to contribute to the world in a positive way. As our slogan is come, learn, and share knowledge. So today we have an amazing person as guest. He is internationally known and recognized speaker. He is a great human being who is always ready to contribute to the world in different positive ways. So let me introduce him formally. He is a graduate of a doctor in public administration from the Urdanita City University class of 2016 and the graduate of second doctorate degree PhD in development education at the Central Luzon State University, Philippines class of 2022. After obtaining his doctorate degree, he was promoted and designated to the position of assistant director, extension coordinator, and assistant professor of the Department of the Research, Development, and Extension in the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy. And this gave him an opportunity to work with different international research institutions, such as director of IKSAD Research Institute, Malaysia, lecturer in the graduate school, Columban College, and at the President Raman Magsaya State University, Zimbalist. In addition to that, he was also appointed as the editor in chief of the International Journal of Multidisciplinary Applied Business and Education Research, Indonesia. As a researcher by heart, he is the external peer reviewer in various international prestigious research journals and has been invited as a keynote speaker at the various international conferences abroad and international universities around the globe. He was named an outstanding alumnus of the Graduate School of Urdanita City University in 2019 and multi-awarded international research and global leader from 2020 to the present. Recently, he was appointed as the ambassador at large, country ambassador, and the director for the International Human Rights Movement Philippines under the umbrella of the United Nations. At present, he was appointed as a technical research evaluator by the Department of Science and Technology and has published 82 research articles and published 12 international books in the European, Indonesia, and India. Last but not the least, he's a wonderful speaker, author, teacher, researcher, professional, and above everything, he is a great human being. So please help me in welcoming our guest, Professor Dr. FROILAN MOBO. Welcome to the Calvas platform, and thank you very much for joining us, Prof.
Good evening from the Republic of the Philippines. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. So I'm really
Thank
so
you.
happy to be invited here in this virtual platform, of course, to share my expertise in the field of research, development, and publication.
Thank you so much, Prof. And it's a really pleasure to have you with us. So, Prof, over to you. And a gentle reminder to the audience that Prof will be presenting and he would leave time for question answer session. If you have any question, you can write in comment section or you can email us at info@colvasta. So over to you, Prof. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So once again, good evening from the Republic of the Philippines. Mabuhay to my fellow countrymen in our wonderful country. So my report tonight is about to discuss how to publish in a high impact journal. So as you see, guys, so when we write a research, so it's very important, of course, to know how to write research. So in the academic community, great values research articles. Additionally, the published study contributes significantly to the career advancement. So even in the graduate school program, in the master's program, in the PhD, there are a large number of students who want, of course, to apply or to push through with the publications in terms of research, uh, or writing a research article for a peer-reviewed journals and to be published later. So part of that is very important to know how to write and to check the credibility of a particular journal. So as you notice, the research writing topic ought to be original and supported by sound reasoning, and of course, it may perform your homework. Just be sure that you understand the tools that researchers in your field and other fields use. If you're into a particular area of research, for example, if you're in the health industry, you must be an expert on that. You must able to know how you will be able to write a particular subject, and of course, you need to plan out of experimental design thoroughly. So in general, more time should be spent in doing this kind of endeavor. So part of that is you should know how to carry out things in terms of writing your area. And of course, be careful when selecting your resources when creating your paper, and you should know how to cite your literature, of course, properly. If you're going to use an APA 7th edition, you should know how to cite it, and of course, you should know how to use uh, a support coming from different peer-reviewed references. And of course, you can also consult a professional in this if this is your first time to do your research publications. And then understand the topic you want to do. There's always a question why you want to do a research, because if you know how to find problems, you would be able to get topics which is really interested in part of that. Just like what I want to share is, when we write research, it's very important not only to publish but to get citations. It's number one. Okay, technique that we should publish, we should get citations, and part of that, those are contributions that the journal might be considered as part of getting a high impact factor. And of course, getting those citations will able to lead you to get uh, impact factor and high score if you're aiming for citations. So for example, if your profile is under the scientist or ResearchGate or Google Scholar, it might give you a matrix that you are really a good researcher. For example, if you have an 85 publications and you have 60 citations and you have an H index of 4, I think that is not a bad matrix. So which means that you are really in a good uh, career in doing or pushing your part in the field of research and publications. Of course, part of that, to ensure that your paper reads smoothly, several awkward shoots know how to read the statements that are grammatically correct. So it's very important to check on that. So of course, this the language should be concise, clear, and grammatically sound. Always try to set up a review by a native language speaker. So it's very important if you're going to write your paper, if there's a need to, before you publish it, so if you want to have your paper to be proofread by someone, but you know, guys, part of the technology platform nowadays, even you don't have an expert, a language expert to read that, we have platforms that can check your grammar. For example, you can use Grammarly, you can use Skillbot just to check your grammar if that is really correct. So part of that, in terms of accuracy, would be able to get a high percentage in uh, proofreading your grammar or your article. Okay, and then how to format and structure a journal article. So you should know how to be part of that before you submit your article in a particular peer-reviewed journal. It is very important to read the instructions. For example, for a particular author, because part of the instructions, of course, you need to check if the journal is of course, be reviewed if a journal is reputable, if the journal doesn't belong to predatory. So it's very important to check the indexing, to check the links of the part of the indexing. Everything should check on that, of course, including the impact factor of the journal, how many citations of that. And part of one of my best experience is to check if the editorial boards are really existing. Okay, because guys, I just like also want to share that we have a situation in my journal who happens that someone coming from the industry of research cloned our journals. It's so sad that there are some predatory journals that are doing those kind of situations. So it is very important to check first, okay? Because in addition, a lot of our journals know how to format free submissions, which enables you to submit your work without formatting it. So you have to comply with the requirements which is being set by the targeted publication. And of course, part of that, what is considered a high impact factor for a journal. So 10 is the or greater is the good figure because the impact factor of 10 or greater is considered an excellent score as part of uh, being considered as reputable. And of course, you should always consider that uh, common a lot of journals they pretend that they are indexed, for example, in Scopus or Web of Science, but you have to check it carefully, okay? Because guys, there are so many clone journals right now or hijack journals that, or even predator that they are claiming that they are indexed with Scopus. So you should check on that. And part of that, how to target your research at high impact journals. In academic publishing, aiming high means selecting the best or best journal by uh, of course, checking the indexing. Because guys, a lot of journals, they have different accreditations or different indexing. So it depends on how the indexing performs. For example, if the journal is indexed with Google Scholar, so you have to check the number of citations, the number of each index. So you would be able to determine that the percentage of the impact factor based on the matrix that they have. Another good example is if the journals index in Web of Science or Scopus, you would be able to get the matrix or the bibliometrics based on the number of publications and the number of citations. So from there, you would be able to get the measurement of the existence of the circulations or frequency of a particular journal. So that is to avoid predatory publishers. Okay, so you have to check it, even it is really difficult to do that part. But then again, at the end of the day, if you're going to check everything, you are safe in terms of the publications. In another case, even in a Scopus index journal, there are also cases that they are also considered predatory. Why? If, for example, if the journal is already delisted for a couple of years, that is considered predatory. So you should be careful on that because if you're going to submit your paper and the journal accepted it, even you will wait for a number of years, your paper won't be indexed by Scopus because they are already listed. But so part of that, you should be careful in checking the uh, credibility of a particular journal. And of course, part of that, ways to measure it, of course, you should, just like what I mentioned a while ago, you should check the H index to quantify an individual scientific research output, the citation analysis, if that is, for example, it has a Web of Science referencing a Scopus or Google Scholar, for example, in my journal, in the International Journal of Multidisciplinary Applied Business, uh, all of our publications or published articles are already Scopus citedness and also cited in a Web of Science Index journal. So which means that our journal is reputable because a lot of authors uh, cited most of our articles, and it's a good sign that the my journal or our journal might be indexed soon in a Scopus. Okay, because last time that I have checked it, it's around 97%. So which means that is a good figure in preparation for the accreditation for the Scopus publication. And part of that, so you should check the the impact factor, the metrics, because it depends on the part of the journal. So of course, the title also plays a vital role of the research, because guys, in your article, it is one of the first indicators that the readers will be able to get your research concept. So will be able to craft. You should concise everything, because once you have a good article, from there, even the abstract, the reader would be able to catch the attention, and then just like what I'm doing from time to time, I was able to publish 85 articles in a matter of 2 years since the start of pandemic. And as of this date, I have already gained around 61 citations coming from ResearchGate and Google Scholar. So which means that is not a bad matrix or citation. So part of that, the technique is, you should craft with a good title, come up with a good abstract, so that they would be able to know the content of your article. Because guys, even just like what I mentioned a while ago, even you have many publications, and if your paper doesn't have any citations, it's really useless. So which means publications counts, of course, and the citations counts, of course, so that uh, later, if you will be ranked according to Ad Scientist matrix, you will be able to get the matrix of, maybe you will be categorized as a best scientist, best researcher in that particular area. So with those uh, uh, attributes that I have mentioned, it would be a big help, of course, for us, or you guys, to become a great researcher. Okay, and so the keywords plays a vital role. Why? Because if you're going to search in a particular indexing databases, it is important, once you type, for example, a word multidisciplinary, it will just pop up, and from that term, it will highlight or index that your paper is really searchable. Okay, so from there, they would be able to, they can easily cite it, just like what I'm doing. That when I choose a best keyword, it should be anchored or aligned on the title, or even in the rationale or the introduction, so that once you uh, publish it and the author cite it, it would be easier on your parts. I think that would be the best way, so that the readers would catch their attention. Of course, the title, the abstract, and the keywords plays a vital role. That's why, guys, if you're going to check a published article in, for example, in a Scopus Index or Web of Science, majority of the publications, sometimes they just publish the abstract, or even the keywords, or even the title of the research, and from there they would be able to read the content, and they will just cite you, just like in my own experience. So those things are vital roles. Of course, the introduction plays a vital role on that part. You making sure that your research must have a gap, so which means that gap must have a research problem, which will able to, for you to come up with a good solutions. Because if your research gap is something like it doesn't have, it makes nonsense, so I think the reader will not cite your research. Okay, so it's very important always to think of a particular research gap, because guys, for example, if you're going to submit in a Scopus or Web of Science, the reason why most of the article is being uh, rejected is because of the the tone of writing that you're doing. So to avoid that, you should explain it, you should discuss it furtherly, so that your paper will be having more chances to be accepted. Just like what I have experienced in those type of indexing and citation in Web of Science, even in Scopus, they're really strict in terms of acceptance and submission. So you should follow the tone of writing. So if they said that the article or the title should focus on this type of area, you should do it. Okay? And Of course, the methodology plays a vital role. So every role, every part of the research must be aligned, must be anchored to every topic. Because guys, even in the methodology, for example, if I'm doing a review process, we're really very strict on that because it might the methodology might be include the following. For example, on the part of instrumentation, whether the research is they have used, of course, a researcher made or an adopted questions. It's very important on that part. Okay. Of course, the results and discussion also play a vital role because if these things or these areas are anchored to your research title, to your rationale, research job, then I think this would easily answer the problem. So which means that once the author reads it, then easily you will be able to get citations. In terms of publications, if if the tone of your writing and explaining it and discuss it and negate with those citations, so definitely the chances of being accepted in a Scopus or Web of Science will be of course you will be getting more chances to be accepted. And of course, conclusion plays a vital role, so you should write it clearly. In referencing, so it's very important, okay? Because a lot of authors write them before they just keep on submitting their papers without checking the requirement. For example, if the uh, journal requires you to submit an APA 7th edition, you should follow it, okay? So we have the part of that, APA 7th edition. So it plays a vital role. So in key changes at a glance, of course, using the following functions in part of the difference between the APA 6th and 7th edition. Sometimes they do not they use DOI or other links. And of course, citations give your readers the opportunity to see where you got your information. So it's very important to cite it properly, to critique your study based on the sources that you have used, and to learn more about what are those research gap that you have came in, and from there you would be able to synthesize that your citations are relevant to your study, and it really support your study, and it justifies that your study is really a good research work. So writing a research article, of course, the process of moving from idea to publish it, manuscript can be sometimes be doubting. So it is very important to manage it wisely. So determine the authors when designing a research project. So it is recommended to prepare an initial list of authors. Sometimes I have got a simple tip coming from other sources that if you want to be easily accepted with a Scopus Index journal, sometimes you have to invite an author that has have already an existing Scopus Index. So from there, which means that the more chances that that your paper will be accepted, the more that you will also be that the more that your paper will be considered. Okay, so those are just tips and tricks on the part of the publishing in terms of looking for a high impact factor journal. And of course, start writing before experimenting. You should do invoke ideas, come up with new experiments. Of course, it's very important. So come up with the new ideas that might be part of research that can be researchable, and decide it is time to publish. So you should check it from time to time. You should check the similarity index if it meets the requirement of the journal, because majority of the journals right now they require less than 10% or other in Europe in Scopus or Duwatch indexing. Sometimes they prefer to have less than 20% because if they are indexed in higher indexing databases, they will be strict on that part because of they are looking for a quality paper. Okay, and select the journal. So there are certain factors when choosing a journal, just like what I mentioned ago. It is very important to check the peer-reviewed board or the editorial board if they are really existing. Okay, so if when selecting a journal, you should always consider, of course, the focus, the scope of the journal, because guys, the common problems with authors, the reason why they are being rejected because sometimes they do not read the scope or the focus of the journal. For example, if the journal is on the part of agriculture and you're submitting an agriculture topic, for sure that might be rejected. So you should always check. In my own experience, we always prefer to submit paper which is in an interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary journal. So chances there are maybe around 90% because you have submitted that based on the scope of the journal. And of course the language itself. So this is the matrix that I've mentioned ago at Google Scholar. It is of course a good searching indexing which would be able to you would be able to look from other articles that you will be able, that will support your statement. And that in terms of that, it is considered reputable because of the matrix that can provide you, because it can count the number of citations and it can account, of course, the number of each index or the high index. And how does Google Scholar work? Just like in my own experience, for example, if a published article, if for example we assign a DOI or a direct object identifier, the published article will be easily be indexed in Google Scholar. That's the common technique there. But if the article has been there for almost a month and the DOI is it has an error, so which means they have a problem in terms of their indexing with Google Scholar. So it's very important to check it, verify it from time to time. And of course, an increasingly popular in terms of this is, of course, Google Scholar is one of the best, and of course, followed by high impact indexing, which is the Web of Science, the Scopus, or even other countries. For example, in Indonesia, they preferred Sinta as a high index indexing database, and also Garuda. So once your paper has been indexed in Garuda or in Sinta, that is already considered as a high or a reputable journal or publications, should I say. So that's important from time to time. So you should consider these things. So use the cited by feature, you would be able to get the citations. Okay, you can quickly cite it because Google Scholar has features of once you search a particular topic, it will you would be able to cite it from its link. And why does Google Scholar not find my research paper? Because I think the common problem that I've encountered there is the DOI or the direct object identifier, which has been set properly. Sometimes we tend to explain that, especially to the to a first to all first author that they have their first time to publish it. We keep on explaining that it will take 3 to 4 days before the paper will be of course can be searchable in the Google Scholar. And of course, citation generator plays a vital role. Guys, nowadays citation generator can easily be used. For example, in terms of citations, in terms of preferencing, you would be able to just paste the link and it will generate everything. So, in the field of research, development, and publication, it's really easier now to publish because even if you don't need to go to an actual library, but if you have your internet and you have your laptop, you would be able to come up with a good research article. Okay, so we have the citation generator. We have the following, of course, another citation generator, script. So from there, it can help. And of course, the grammar checker or killbot can easily check if you experience a difficulties in writing your manuscript or writing your research article. So you have killbot, which is almost the same with Grammarly. In citations, of course, there are two main points to pay attention. Of course, the consistency and accuracy to your manuscript. So citations must also be accurate and complete. Okay? And then the last part that I want to discuss is, of course, how to interpret the similarity report. So using plagiarism checker, for example, Turnitin is one of the most leading platform software that being used by majority of the publishers or even university in terms of checking the similarity or the plagiarism based on the database, which includes billions of pages or other links. So it is very important always to check or interpret the similarity report. For example, to show you on the screen, if you have encountered around red marks with around 89%, so which means that paper is already being published, or it's either the paper is stored in a repository. So it's very important to check everything. If it's there a need to withdraw the paper from the journal, you should do it. Okay, so this is only a platform wherein it can identify if your paper is already been published or stored in a repository. Because guys, in my own opinion, it is better to check it than to perish. Okay, because if you're not going to check it, to double check it, it will be of course it's not really good for the author and for the journal itself. So these are the category of the color of the checking the similarity. So based on this, for example, if your paper is being checked and run and it has a result of blue, which means you have zero similarity or zero plagiarism. But if your paper is around green remarks, your paper has higher chances to be accepted. And same with, of course, with the blue remarks. So the vital role, of course, of the Turnitin and other plagiarism checker plays a significant role, especially of checking those authors who are just copying and pasting from a particular topic. And guys, that is a really a no-no on our part, because if you are really a writer or researcher, we must develop it. We must conceptually or come up with a study that will benefit all. Okay. So the color of the report icon indicates the similarity score of the paper. So which means blue is the CPS, and if that is already under the area of orange or yellow, so there's a problem with your article which is being submitted. So these are the mentioned a while ago. And the original report works. If you're going to check it, the perfect score of perfect color is green. So which means that it is really acceptable in all various publishing company or publishers. And so we have that. Teachers to quickly assess the quality of their publications. Okay, it's very important to check it. Also, we have plagiarism preventions. Okay, so check it properly, cite it properly before you submit that in your institution, or before you submit that to the one who is in charge with this processes. So it is very important to come up with a platform, because for example, you have to turn it into similarity. This is how you will be able to check if those are articles are really accurate. Okay, so I think that would be the last part of my presentation. So if you have any questions, guys, feel free to send it in my email, so that I would be able to help you, okay, in the field of publications, writing research. It's very important to always to check all the aspects in terms of submissions, publications. So with that, that will be all on my part. So once again, uh, mabuhay and good evening from the Republic of the Philippines. So that will be all on my part. Thank you.
Wow, super prof. The way you explained everything was so great, and I was really enjoying the way you started it right from the beginning. That how can we have the understanding of the structure and format of the journal, we have to consider it. And then very nicely you have talked about the grammarly checked, followed by the you explain each and every point of the paper introduction, the literature, the methodology, the results and discussion. And more focusedly you talked about the how we can have the appropriate understanding of the citation, particularly the APA style and the other styles. And very nicely you have given a wonderful examples of that you need to be very clear regarding the authorship even before finalizing it. And you have to see the journal scope, which is very important. And sometimes the young researcher, the beginner, they don't know to see the journal scope, and sometimes they submit paper, and most of the time they waste their time by just coming to know that this journal was not appropriate for them to submit the paper because of it was not multidisciplinary. So you very nicely you have talked about it. And then you talked about a very important aspect, that is the plagiarism, the similarity index. Most of the time, we are not sure about the similarity index, and we submit paper, and sometimes we get the desk rejection just because of the high index, and particularly not citing the appropriate references over there. So, which is, I think, very important. So the way you explained everything, it was very concise and very to the point, Prof. I really liked your approach of including each and everything right from the beginning to the end, and you explain it in a so wonderful in a half an hour. You just compile the 3 4 years of publication process. What once they go through the hectic process of submission and get the rejection, and then they submit, and they through trial and error they learn all these things which you just sum up in this 30 minutes. So I believe that these 30 minutes are eye opener for everyone to understand and to learn from it. And I love the way you talked about the different grammarly, like for example, the quell and the other, which can be used in a way to beautify your paper and to rectify actually your paper. So really, I just enjoyed this session with you. The way you talked about everything was so great, so nice. And we have a lot of questions waiting for you, but since time constraint, we will take few questions. So if you allow, should we start with the first question, please?
Yes, sure, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir. The first question they want to ask that, Prof, thank you very much for such a elaborative session. You explained very well the different part. Prof, can you answer my question? The question is, can I ask the general reason for desk rejection of my paper while a highly similar paper were accepted previously? Yes. What is your recommendation to that student, Prof?
Cause of rejection, of course, you should explain it. It's very important, of course, to for the journal to give all the details why the paper is being rejected. And because, for example, if it's being declined or resubmit, they should explain it. So once they have submitted it to other journals, they would it would be easier for the author to rewrite it or to revise it based on the requirement which is being stipulated on the observations of those editors or reviewers. Yes, sir.
Yes, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. What a nice suggestion for that. And now, Prof, we have another very interesting question, and most of the time, this question is being asked that, Prof, how do you see the role of the cover letter to the editor? And the extension of this question is, how do you see the role of cover letter to the editor? And secondly, if the paper is rejected, uh, just rejected, do you think we should email to the editor and talk about the paper strength and weaknesses in order to get his confirmation? Yes, your recommendation, please.
Yes, of course, it's very important coming from the editorial editor in chief or editorial board to get the reasons why the paper is being rejected and to how to strengthen it. So with that, if the editorial board or editor in chief is responsive, I think that's a good part Okay, that's why guys, especially in my journal, we always require a cover letter because part of that, we make sure that the paper is an original submissions. We make sure that the paper, if it's not accepted in other publications, that's why we are really strict with that, so that they will be able to know based on the cover letter that they have submitted that they are oath that the paper that they have submitted is an original article. It was never been published because, guys, you see that we are following guidelines coming from the copy guidelines. That is an international standard to make sure that we follow research ethics. That is to avoid problems that might arise later. Of course, not only on the side of the researcher, but also on the side of the publisher. Okay, that is to avoid problems or uh, legal problems. Of course, it's very important to get rid out of those problems that might be arise. So those things are very important to be transparent.
Yes, very nice. Thank you very much once again for your wonderful answer. And Prof, there is one another question from our one of the our regular viewer researcher. His name is the Arish Shams. They want to ask that shall we bring all variable in order in title, or title has any order, because you also talked about the title. They want to ask that do you recommend that they should include all the variable of the study in the title in order to reflect it appropriately? Yes, your recommendation, please.
In my own experience and recommendation on, I think the title must be anchored on all parts, of course, so that it will reflect, including the rationale, the introduction, the research gap, so that from there and also in the keywords. So once the reviewer or the editor check that your paper meets the requirements on the journal, they will easily accept it without declining on that your paper. So if those areas are really perfect in terms of the title, the introduction, and the everything, the abstract, uh, I think you will not be having any problems. And besides, guys, what I have learned from my previous university is that there is no such thing as a perfect manuscript, and I believe on that because it depends on the scope of the publication. So I think there is no such thing as a perfect manuscript. So it depends as long as you have explained it, the results and the discussion, as long as it anchors on the objectives, on the statement of the problems, on the hypothesis, and of course, the very important there is in your introduction the research gap that explaining why you need to do this research and you need to conduct this because this can help, of course, for a possible solutions that might help to stop the problem. So I think that would be on my side.
Yes, Prof. Thank you very much once again, Prof. I'm really enjoying the way you are giving the answer. And Prof, there is one another very important question, which you already discussed in your presentation as well, and you talked about the high impact journal, and we should consider the high impact journal, the prestige of the journal as well. So the question is very much related, and they want to ask that, Prof, as a for a beginner researcher, what do you recommend? Do you recommend us to publish in the new journals that do not have an impact factor? Or you only recommend the high impact factor we should target? Yes, please.
I think on that part, it depends. Of course, on the credibility of the journal. As long as you have to check, just like what I mentioned a while ago, you have to check the background. If the journal is new and the journal is under the management of a reputable publishers, because guys, even publishers also they are also a reputable predatory publishers. So you have to choose the best reputable publishers that they have a good standing in terms of research and publication. So based on that, if you're going to check on that, even it's a new journal, I think sooner or later they will be indexed in a good reputable journal and they will be having a good impact factor soon. Okay? Because guys, even you will choose an existing journal, even they just like what I have shared to you a while ago, and they told you that their journal is indexed in Scopus, but later the journal is being delisted. So I think it depends on how you would be able to check the background, check the indexing, check the repeatability, and checking the high impact factor, because sometimes those predatory journal, they will just lure you around, that they will just put on their website that the journal has a high impact factor of this figure. But if you're going to check the indexing, there is no such thing as a high impact factor. So you should be careful in checking the indexing partner, because they have their own uh, representation in terms of indexing and high impact factor. So I think that would be on my part.
Yes, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. And you have highlighted a very important aspect of the predatory journals. And most of the time, they mention on the website their high impact, but once we see the indexing, particularly in the different reports, for example, the GCR 2022, we'll come to know that their impact factor and their quartile as well. And one of the question which the Shams has already asked, that how can we identify the credit of the journal. So we usually check on the Web of the Science and the GCR reports, the latest one, and then you will come to know about its quartile, whether it is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and what is the impact factor. So this is how we actually check, and this is what the prof has also recommended, that you must check the indexing, not only just relying on the website of the journal. Very nice, Prof. And one last question, Prof. And it is very interesting because you are a wonderful teacher and researcher as well. We want to ask that, Prof, in your opinion, what are the basic mistakes students do in writing a research paper? Please highlight few of them. Yes, please.
Common mistakes that an author in done is sometimes they don't identify the research gap, and sometimes they will just write it without knowing the tone of writing. So and also, of course, the very important is that the results in discussion. If there's a particular figure or table, and for example, in terms of the significant differences, for example, in that particular table, you should explain it and supply that with a particular justification, or include all the particular uh, literature review that might support the study, telling that that study really will help on the part of the researcher. Of course, it's very important to do that those things.
Yeah. Once again, very nice answer to that question as well. And since we have the time limitation, so we have to close the session quickly. So, really, Prof, I enjoyed this session with you, the way you explained everything and what a powerful content you shared with our audience from around the globe. That is really commendable, and really, I like the way you explain everything, your way of communication and the way of elaborating things were so nice and so great. Prof, at the end of the session, we ask each our guest that what is their message to the world. So, Prof, what is your message to the world as a speaker, author, teacher, researcher, professional trainer, and educator? Yes, please.
Of course, as a researcher by heart, it is very important, of course, when we do this kind of passion in terms of writing, doing research. It's very important, of course, to check if your idea or concept might help our community and might give, of course, might also motivate future researchers. Okay.
Prof, can you hear us? Yes, Prof, can you hear us?
That would be all on my side, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much,
those.
Prof. Yeah, thank you very
So
much.
it's very
And
important to uh, share our.
please, please carry on, Prof.
It's very important to share our talent, of course, our knowledge to other future researchers so that they will be motivated and they will continue our passion in share it to the community.
Yes, very true, very true. And Prof, this is what we recommend as a contribution back to the society. When you share your knowledge, we believe in a philosophy of sharing knowledge is what, when knowledge is shared, it is grown. So this is how we grow as a society, as a community, as a planet. We will have better planet if we share our knowledge and expertise in a better way, so that they can contribute in a better way. So thank you once again, Prof. And to the audience that do follow our distinguished guest speaker through his research work, and you can email him for future learning and guidance. He is very generous and always ready to help the people. Moreover, wonderful explanation and powerful content which the great speaker has already elaborated will help you to learn and develop your understanding regarding how to publish in impact factor journals. So take advantage of all the information, important tips and suggestions shared by an expert. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you once again, Professor Dr. Yelan Mobo. And I would like to thank our audience who joined us
Thank
from
you.
around the globe. Yeah. If you have any additional question, you can connect to the speaker directly through his social media account. Thank you all for your support and liking our session. Stay tuned as many sessions are on the way. Please do not miss sessions, any session, and take care of yourself. Bye bye. Stay blessed. Bye bye.